Here, only the bold makes it. But from here, only the humble makes it back. I tried to climb Everest without oxygen in 2005, and 2005 was just a bad season, being way too cold. On summit night it was around -20, -30, and for that's just on the limit when you're trying without oxygen. I reached 8,500 meters, only 350 meters from the summit, but at the time I hadn't been able to feel my toes or my feet for 1.5 hours, so I knew that if I continued up, which I could feel I had the power to do, I would have to leave my toes on the mountain. And that price was too high for me, so I turned around, and then I can come back the next year. My ambition is to summit Everest by fair means, meaning no oxygen. And it's the ultimate challenge, and that's why. If you use oxygen, you reduce the mountain by at least 1.5 kilometers, and for me that's taking a lot of the challenge out of it. I want to just be me and the mountain, and then try and climb it without oxygen. It's a very, very small keyhole that you have to climb through, and it closes very quickly. But that's also the challenge. It's just within the human capacity to summit Everest without oxygen. Less than 100 people have done it in the history of climbing Everest. So for me it's an elite club, and it's just the perfect challenge for me to see, is it within my limits or is it beyond? Being asthmatic surely is an advantage for me, but I don't know how much of a disadvantage it is, because it's hard for me to compare. But I think the biggest challenge for me when I enter the death zone is that I'm without oxygen. I get cold easier, I freeze more, I don't think as fast, and I move slower on the mountain. I'm more at risk. So I think that's the biggest obstacle for me, that's doing it without oxygen. My preparation for the expedition is a physical preparation and a mental preparation. On the physical side, I worked out around 30 to 40 hours a week, cycling 500 to 600 kilometers, running 100 to 140 kilometers, lifting weights 2 or 3 times a week, and then walking with my 70-kilo backpack for 2 or 3 times a week, up to 4 hours. So it's a full week's work. And on the mental side, it's preparation all the time, more or less. I try to visualize every scenario and be as proactive as I can, think through the scenarios, and then when I enter the death zone and I don't have any oxygen, I have already thought about what to do when this happens, so I can pull that from my hard disk and then make the right choice at the right time. The hardest part for me in climbing Everest is undoubtedly the lack of oxygen. In the end, it's like everything comes to a standstill. You have no oxygen whatsoever. Your thinking is in slow motion, and it's very much reduced. It's hard adding 5 to 5. When you're walking, you can take 3 paces at a snail's pace, and then you have to gasp for your breath for more than a minute. So the lack of oxygen, for sure, is the biggest obstacle. High up on the mountain, what I eat is mostly freeze-dried food. Beyond that, it's a lot of energy bars, energy gels, a lot of tea, a lot of chocolate, chips, as much as I can get down. I'm lucky that I can eat even at 8,000 meters, whereas most other people don't eat anything because their appetite has just gone AWOL. But I've been able to eat up high on the mountain. That's a huge advantage for me. When you're in the death zone, you consume maybe up to 10,000 calories a day. That's almost the triple amount of energy that a grown man would use at sea level in a day. So you're basically just eating your muscle, and then you get a little energy from what you eat. Everest, for me, surely is one of the biggest challenges I can imagine. Doing it without oxygen is just on the limit of what's possible for a human being. So I'm stretched to my fullest potential, and I really don't see many things being a bigger challenge than climbing Everest. No. The Sherpas are for sure the true heroes on the mountain, and they are the backbone of every expedition. They work tremendously hard, day after day after day, and still they're able to always carry a smile on their lips and being extremely helpful. So the Sherpas for me have a very special place in my heart. I'm going to return to Everest. I still have to write the final chapter in my Everest book. Deciding to climb Everest with Russell and his expedition and his Sherpas was an easy pick for me. They are by far the best and most successful, and at the same time the most safest expedition to climb Everest with. I had been with Russell several times before, also on other mountains, so for me it was an easy pick. Basically, when you're climbing Everest, one of the biggest challenges for you is to endure boredom. So having a camera crew around actually put away a bit of that boredom, and had some action in all the days where we didn't really have to do anything but just sit and relax and wait. So for me it was actually an asset, because they gave me things to do. Before coming to Everest, the highest mountain I had climbed was Mount Choyu, which is the 6th highest mountain in the world at 8,201 meters. I climbed that in 2003 without oxygen as the first day ever. Coming from a country without any mountains, it may sound strange that you want to climb the highest mountain in the world, but I would say that dreams and ambitions don't have any borders. So it was just my fascination of the mountains and my interest and ambition in trying to climb it without oxygen. First of all, you can't conquer Everest. The only one you can conquer when climbing Everest is yourself. When I've climbed Everest, I will always have different challenges in life. One of them could be to start a family, which I know as a teacher is a huge challenge if you want to do a proper job.